Caitlin Clark's the new it. If you don't have a long ball, talking about the 26, 30 feet, if you ain't doing the Steph Curry, you ain't got none of that long ball in your game, yeah, you're going to be behind.
She's doing stuff we've never seen before. Never seen nobody do that on a consistent basis. There's a lot of girls in WNBA that have done it in spurts, but, you know, that game I'm watching y'all in the Final Four, I'm like, damn, like, and I was a hater because, you know, I'm down. She was like, she's not going to hit that shot, and bam, like, damn.
Caitlin's talent and popularity have elevated the buzz around the WNBA to unprecedented levels, but this is where things become even more intriguing. Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, has finally spoken up. Caitlin Clark is a supernova in our perception of the women's game, as anyone who follows basketball would attest. NBA icons and legends who are experts in the game have been astounded by her genius. MJ's comments on Caitlin are revolutionary, and it's clear how much he admires her. Jordan is an NBA legend, so pay attention to what he had to say. Rick Barry didn't hold back when it came to defending Caitlin Clark. In a stirring speech, Barry clarified that Caitlin's ongoing hate from certain WNBA players is nothing more than fear and jealousy of her tremendous talent. Barry's remarks were powerful and put those haters in their rightful place. Everyone who is skeptical of Caitlin Clark should listen to what Barry has to say because it shows why she is deserving of all the praise she has garnered.
I think it's reprehensible what they're allowing some of these players. Anybody that does something flagrant to this young lady for what she's brought to the game should be suspended and fined big time for doing that.
Legendary WNBA player George Jaron also spoke up in support of Caitlin Clark, and his comments were just as impactful. Jaron made it apparent that Caitlin's skill should be acknowledged rather than crushed by calling out the disrespect right away. Caitlin's magnificence is here to stay, and even legends acknowledge it, he said in an attention-grabbing statement. Prepare to hear Gervin's compelling defense.
I don't know the value that she's bringing for all of them. She bringing, they flying private planes now. They weren't flying private before she came. They on major networks now. They weren't doing that. See, she remind me of Tiger Woods for golf.
We'll start with a retired athlete who isn't always on the radio. Despite being an NBA championship ring winner, a one-time All-Star, and a reliable starter for most of his 12 seasons in the league, Jeff Teague was never a media favorite or a very marketable person. Since Caitlin Clark had a large fan base when she joined the WNBA, Teague, who is now retired, felt comfortable criticizing the league for how it treated her.
Like, they played this all wrong, bro.
Terribly, bro.
They was supposed to gas this shit. This is why people don't watch this shit when y'all leave college. Women's sports, because y'all hating on the best thing that's going to happen to the W.
Caitlin's entrance has finally gotten things moving on those fronts after years of heated debate about the gender wage disparity in sports and multiple unsuccessful attempts to raise the WNBA's profile, but she still had a difficult reception. Teague makes it apparent that he thinks Caitlin should receive better treatment from her peers and managers who speak of mistreatment, while also pointing out that such a mindset is financially detrimental to the league. Although his delivery may seem unpolished, the main point he is making makes sense. The media's animosity of Caitlin Clark can be partially attributed to Paul Pierce, a 10-time All-Star who openly questioned her early in the season and even incited racial controversy with comments about the Fever's incredible rookie. Since then, Pierce has made an effort to put some of that noise behind him and has grudgingly started to respect the Indiana Fever guard. After Clark was excluded from the U, Pierce said the following. Olympic squad.
You claim you want the women's game to grow, and then you keep the most popular girl in women's basketball off the team. How do you grow internationally and domestically if you don't put her on the U.S. team? It just makes the most sense. Sometimes you have to say, hey, you guys, this is bigger than the game, which it is. I mean, women's basketball is at an all-time high because of Caitlin Clark.
Although his opinion seems respectful at first glance, a closer look reveals that Pierce is still not entirely convinced of Caitlin Clark's basketball prowess. He suggests that Caitlin didn't receive an invitation based only on merit, but he feels that Clark ought to have been on the U.S. roster to increase the sport's popularity. On the other hand, Paul Pierce is among the most controversial former NBA players. Shaquille O'Neal dropped a bombshell on Angel Reese's podcast just when you thought the drama surrounding Caitlin couldn't get any bigger. Shaq held nothing back as he praised Caitlin Clark right in front of her most vocal critic. It was an incredible moment, and NBA legend defending Caitlin in the most unexpected places words made it clear that Caitlin is extraordinary and even. Therefore, all of his opinions must be taken with some reservation as he may simply be trying to remain relevant in the media. Prepare to hear what her sharpest detractors couldn't dispute. Directly from the Big Diesel.
And I was a hater because, you know, I'm down. She was like, she's not going to hit that shot. And bam, like, damn, she's not going to hit that shot. Man, like, if I say 10 times you're not going to hit the shot and you hit the shot, that means you're the truth. So I'm telling you now, if you just lower it like...
Dwight Howard, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and legendary NBA center, thinks Caitlin's absence from the year's largest athletic event might have been a blessing in disguise. At the time, he believed that Caitlin could use the break to improve her abilities and dominate the second half of the season, which is precisely what transpired. In retrospect, Howard's remark appears almost prescient.
She is a great player, but it's a lot of players that, no lie, who, as far as basketball-wise, they have the edge over her of why they should be playing in the Olympics right now. Mind you, this should motivate her. This should make her go harder in the gym. The 3 weeks that they off, she should get in better.
When everyone else saw only failure and disrespect, Dwight saw an opportunity for Caitlin, and he was wise enough to see that a player of Clark's caliber is ideally positioned to take advantage of the opportunity and demonstrate it. She undoubtedly found her rhythm, even though we're not sure how much the team's omission infuriated and inspired her. In addition to the potential for a random injury, Clark might have been thrown off his stride by traveling to Paris and possibly sitting on the bench for a packed squad. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, you always have to look at the big picture, even though she is better than most of the players selected before her. After his outstanding playing career that saw the Detroit Pistons win back-to-back NBA titles, Hall of Fame point guard Isaiah Thomas was always able to see every angle both on and off the field. Thomas later spent many years working in the NBA as an executive and head coach. With one small exception, Thomas's response to a question concerning Clark was generally favorable.
I think it's great what she's done, and I think it's great what the media and the WNBA and marketing and the players are doing because, controversy is not good, but, controversy.
The media had a lot to gain by attacking Caitlin Clark from every angle when she initially entered the league. It's no secret that fans watch to follow drama. In a single phrase, Thomas did a fantastic job of both thanking everyone and highlighting the unethical practices that underlie all of the animosity toward Caitlin. Isaiah is on to something, let's just say, but he doesn't want to escalate the dispute he describes. Even though Caitlin Clark has gained widespread support among Indianapolis supporters, she is still not as well-liked locally as some of the previous basketball greats. The best three-point shooter and crafty competitor Reggie Miller, who wore a number 31 Pacers J throughout his entire 18-year career, is at the top of the list of the most cherished Indiana ballers of all time. Miller, on the other hand, went the other direction and basically said that in order to accept Clark as the Newtown savior, every rookie needs to learn how to handle adversity and competition. What did you think would happen to her? First of all, I don't believe it to be jealousy. She has so many endorsements, it's unbelievable. We're going to pursue her. You're at the top of your game. You're a WNBA player. You're heading to the professional rings after graduating from college, correct? What did she anticipate happening? I wonder why people are so taken aback. You are competing with adult women. The same thing occurred. Caitlin Clark is definitely having problems, even though Reggie Miller's perspective on hard fouls may not fully translate to the contemporary NBA, where aggression was the norm. In addition to competitiveness, she is dealing with unnecessary hostility. The level of resistance Caitlin has encountered extends beyond merely earning her spot, yet it was never logical to expect WNBA players to just extend a warm welcome. It appears to be an attempt to depress her. Gaining respect is only one aspect of Caitlin's path. According to a Los Angeles Sparks part owner, it's about expecting equal treatment whatever. We know that Magic Johnson, the legendary point guard and driver of 5 NBA championship teams, is keeping an eye on the WNBA if it means defying the odds since he is actively interested in women's basketball. Johnson gave a highly insightful evaluation of Caitlin's standing in the league and brought up other well-known rookies. Caitlin's teammates must now stand up for her. Yes. You can't let her fight every conflict, can you? However, we must acknowledge that Caitlin, Angel, and Brink, who plays for my Sparks, all contributed to the improvement of the WNBA. And these amazing women who have been in the league for a long time will put them to the test. Is the most well-liked WNBA player, but she isn't the best right now. Similar to how Larry and I weren't the best when we first joined the league, we eventually rose to the top. It's interesting to note that Magic likened the current generation of young WNBA players to his own battle with Larry Bird, which brought the NBA back to life in the late 1970s and early 1980s. He is urging patience and emphasizing that in order for the young stars to succeed in their sport and overcome all challenges, they will require the assistance of their teammates. Magic, as usual, complimented everyone without truly addressing the controversial parts of the dispute. But his rating of Clark is unusually high and can be construed as a sign that even seasoned NBA players who have an interest in a rival team. Magic's public statements were always elegant and polished, something that none of his peers could match. Anyone who remembers Magic from his playing days will vouch to this. 11-time All-Star and 2-time Olympic gold medalist Charles Barkley was a physically demanding player whose dealings with the media often sounded like his battles for position deep in the paint. He now works in the media and is even more well-known than he was as a player. He has made a number of remarks regarding Caitlin Clark's WNBA career. In this film, he discusses how her form changed during the season, demonstrating his general support. She never speaks a word, which is something I adore about her. She's playing more faster now, which is one of the two things I admire about her. During the first part of the season, she was playing too slowly. From the time spent in college, they didn't even acknowledge that she had been worth it for the WNBA season. You've been exercising your noses. She had just graduated from college. Chuck is correct to note that Caitlin Clark has been moving faster lately, which has boosted opportunities in transition and enhanced scoring production for both Clark and her teammates. However, fatigue may have played a bigger role in her early slowness than any defensive action. But Barkley also talked about how Clark is treated by other WNBA players, and he wasn't kind to his targets. I feel sorry for all the women out there, man. Hey LeBron, you're absolutely correct about these females' hatred of Caitlin Clark. You petty girls. Men are the most insecure bunch in the world, so I expect them to be petty. You guys need to be grateful to the girl for securing private charters for you. The WNBA benefits from all the money and attention she brings. Avoid becoming small-minded like men. Aside from the humorous tone, Barkley's portrayal of the central issue in the Caitlin Clark story is flawless. Petty malice is one thing. Competition is quite another. Opponents have occasionally sent Clark to the floor for no legitimate basketball-related cause. It seems sense to say that other players should be appreciative of Clark rather than hostile, but Barkley believes that the media's opinion leaders are to blame for the whole mess. They couldn't have made the Caitlin Clark situation worse. If they made an effort. What we say on television is believed by the public. You can't be defamed on TV just because people don't like you or your personality. It's just complete nonsense. This chick is amazing. She has purchased the cars and the pros, and she has received a lot of attention and eyeballs. You tell yourself that Barkley's anger at what he believes to be injustice is justifiable given these women's petty jealousy. Although the WNBA sees Caitlin Clark as a cash cow, it does little to safeguard her on the court and establish her as the league's future leader. Corporate conservatism is somewhat to blame for this, as executives would prefer to postpone creating a plan around Caitlin until after the season is finished. Clark's rapid ascent to fame is the other factor. It may be related to certain prominent media figures' personal dislike of Clark, which is simply intolerable in a professional context. The WNBA owes Caitlin Clark a great deal for her services to the sport, according to Michael Jordan, who finally spoke out about the player. According to MJ, Jordan also called for a change in officiating, emphasizing that the league needs to make restitution because Caitlin has been treated unfairly by the refs. His words conveyed a powerful message. The WNBA must acknowledge Caitlin's impact and ensure that the players and officials on the court treat her with the deference she deserves. Luka isn't the only person who has drawn comparisons between Caitlin Clark and Steph Curry, so Curry himself had to make a statement. Her long-range three-point shooting is already a dead giveaway, which makes sense given that she has been referred to as the female Steph Curry since college. The shooting form of Steph Curry has been compared. They both have a lightning-fast release time that stuns opponents, just like Caitlin Clark, but their games are much more than that. Steph has realized that being like him requires more than just being able to shoot. You also need to perform, make the game a spectacle for the crowd, and figure out how to strengthen your team and have an even greater impact on the game. It makes sense that Steph is constantly asked about Caitlin Clark, and it's great that he has expressed his respect for her. When the ball isn't in your hands, all the other guards have been practicing their three-point shooting, but Steph's brilliance stands out. I saw someone break down the release time, and it's almost exactly the same as mine. She's a performer, and I can't help but observe how she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, and the flair. However, the fact that her shot is that way makes it insane. That's where it is. Her floor game is also remarkable if you pay close attention. Thus, it's essentially the whole package. And the amount of attention she has received over the past few years, as well as her friend shattering that record. There is a distinct energy in each building she enters. Steph participated in a historic three-point shootout between the NBA and the WNBA. Steph prevailed in a thrilling encounter that came very close to the conclusion. Caitlin Clark might have an opportunity to face her idol now that NBA versus WNBA three-point shootouts have been scheduled. Although she has thus far rejected to compete, she says, "I know all of our fingers are crossed that she does if Caitlin Clark wants to find some solace in the words of NBA champion and former MVP. Kevin Garnett, often known as the Big Ticket, entered the NBA right out of high school and soon established himself as a formidable opponent on both sides of the court, offering him a unique insight into the creation of basketball stars. Throughout his 21-year NBA career, he overcame several obstacles because to his well-known confidence and toughness. He is considered one of the toughest workers in his sport. You're going to experience some rookies. And you know what? Yes, there will be some when you're in and have the bullseye in the back. Nobody is hitting you with the step back in the high, are they? Yes, that is a compliment. You do feel that way. In addition to believing that rough play and taunting are typical for rookies, Garnett believes that they are an essential step on the road to greatness. The best players must prove their worth, and it is in this process that they cultivate their winning mindset. The way the greatest people in the sport have been talking about Caitlin Clark since she started playing well and her team made it to the playoffs is one way that her legend is still growing. Caitlin should simply go with the flow and accept the attention from defenses as a sign of respect. Although not all former NBA players would agree, this is an interesting point of view. You can be sure that some of the best players in NBA history are actively watching Caitlin Clark's career trajectory and cheering her on to break records and transform the sport's commercial landscape. As they say, game recognizes game, thus the judgments of journalists who have never played basketball are not nearly as important as those of acknowledged experts of the craft. Since many of the well-known NBA players were once rookies, they are aware of how much Clark may grow from this stage and the significance it will have for women's basketball. To ensure you don't miss anything, please leave your opinions in the comments box, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Once you click the video on the screen, we'll see you in the next one.